Alright, so I'm just about ready to launch phase 2 of my style library. I've got to get everything ready, but I should be putting it up probably tomorrow if all goes to plan. As soon as it's ready, I will announce it. But this video is kind of to show a lot of what's available in phase 2, all in one blade. So fair warning, this is going to be a little bit of a flex for Proffie. So those of you who haven't considered Proffie before, if you see this video, you like what you see, a lot of this stuff you can only do on Proffie. For those of you who are triggered when I say you can only do stuff on Proffie, the other boards can't do this stuff. That's why I say you can only do this on Proffie. The level of interaction, the level of video game-like experience in Proffie OS7 is currently unmatched. There is nothing out there that can do what we can do, maybe in the future, but right now, no. So I'm confident in saying this is a bit of a flex, that Proffie can do a lot of stuff that the other boards can't. It's not meant to be derogatory towards any board. We're all Saber fans. We all have our favorites. But there are points in time where certain individuals love to say, well, we can do this and we can do that. What I'm about to say is stuff that only exists on Proffie, only exists with OS7. And a lot of this is coming in my OS7 library via phase 2, which initially is going to be early access. This has taken a long time, both in development of OS7, the creation of what you're going to see, but then also the library is meant to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Now, a lot of these are very advanced features with brand new sounds. So the library does most of the heavy lifting to get everything set up for you. It includes information in the top of the style code for what you have to do. A lot of it is adding new sounds to your font, as well as setting your font up to support these new features. That the library can't do for you. If you're brand new to Proffie and you have questions, feel free to ask. There's a link at the top of the library for questions or issues. That's for anything related to OS7 styles, OS7 setup, or what you see here. We can walk you through it, but just fair warning. I'm going to show a lot of advanced features that do require additional setup. That being said, this is going to be a single preset. So in phase 1 we did have multi-phase. And we did have party mode, so that I'm going to show. This is meant to be the Survivor from the Survivor video game. This has the multi-phase capability where it goes through the 8 different colors. It has 8 different sounds. So every time I change the color and use a new phase, it's going to change the sound of the saber, which is the hum, the swings, the ignitions, the retractions. It's going to change the visual effects in terms of what the blade is actually doing, and it changes the color. And it's all meant to match the video game. On top of that, there's a number of new interactive capabilities in this single preset to make it even more like a video game experience. So instead of just turning on some lights and some sounds, which is what a lot of other Sabers do, this with Proffie board with OS7, you're going to actually have an interactive gaming experience with your Saber and do a lot of new things that we haven't been able to do before. So some of this is from phase 1, but I'm just going to show it because I wanted to put it all together in one preset. So this preset is set up with the alt fonts. It is set up with multi-phase capabilities. That will be in the information in the library that you get in the style code. There's also videos at the top of the library that cover a lot of this stuff, so make sure you watch those. So this is set up with special abilities. Special ability 1 and 2 go forward and back through my phases. So if I go forward, so if I use special ability 1, it's going to go forward sequentially through the colors, the sounds, and the visual effect. So we've got our cyan, our green, and the visual effect changes. The sounds are different. Indigo, magenta, orange. Again, different. Each one of these fonts it's an alt font. The sounds of your hum, your swings, everything changes with that color change. Purple, silver, yellow, and then we should be back to blue. Alright, and then special ability 2 on this setup, and that's the other thing, in the library it makes it very easy. Special abilities are completely customizable. You have essentially 8 free slots of controls that you can do a number of things. Now, phase 1 of my library had a lot of stuff. Phase 2 takes that up at least tenfold. in terms of what's possible. Now, not everything will be in the library release. I have to get some of the things, I'm still working out the code. Some of the things I'm cleaning up, how it interacts. So phase 2, the initial launch, will have some stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that'll just be added over the coming weeks as I get worked through it. I have to test some of it on the actual Saber before I add it to library, but there's a lot more even coming, but there is a lot of special abilities you can now do. But so special ability 2 just goes backwards, which we'll skip over. So special ability 3 now is a new feature in phase 2, and it's a rain mode, and it's meant to be like in the video game when you get into a rainy environment. We've had rain blades before. This is a controllable rain blade, and it controls the visual and the audio. There's a brand new sound file that's you would add to your font. This one has a file that somebody provided me years ago. I forget your name, I apologize. Write in the comments for my YouTube if you remember creating this file, because it was so long ago I've lost track. And I don't want to say the wrong name if this is the person who provided it. But it's a sound of rain hitting a blade, and you get the little sizzle sounds, and then you also get the visual effects. So this is rain mode, but it's set up as a special ability, which means I can turn it on or off, which means I can interact with it, have the sounds and the visual effects whenever I want, and turn them off whenever I want. And that is currently set up for special ability 3. And again, you control the special ability, so if you like this feature, you'd add it. If you don't, you can remove it, or if you want it on a different control, that's what special abilities are, is you can change what you can do with each one of those. But so special ability 3 will toggle rain mode. So you'll see I get the visual effect on the blade. And hopefully it comes through on the camera. There's like a thunderstorm sound effect, but it also has the sound of the rain hitting the blade. And again, somebody created that for me, and it was a number of years ago. And then when I don't want rain mode anymore, I just do special ability 3 again to turn it off. And it turns off the visual effect and the sound effect. So that's yet another interaction meant to be kind of like the video game. When you go into an environment, you want to pretend it's raining, you can, or if it's really raining. And then special ability 4 on this one is set up for party mode, which is also from the video game. That was in phase 1. Party mode in the video game, when you choose party mode in the workbench, every large swing is going to change the color or the phase, the visual effect, and the sound effect. And this one's set up to change randomly. You can also choose to just have it go sequentially if you want. Again, more options for you. But so special ability 4 toggles party mode on and off. It has a special sound. It does require the alt font setup. But after I turn it on, I can do swings to randomly choose the color and the sounds. And then if you get to a color you want to keep, you can actually just turn party mode off, and it will deactivate the swing change. So there'll be a sound when I do special ability 4, and then that means it's active. So there's a little menu sound, but now every large swing will change the color, effects, and sound. And they are randomly selected like in the video game. And then when you want to stop doing party mode, you would just do special ability 4 again. And now I'm back to normal use in the color that I've activated. So that's all special abilities. And then on top of that, I just did a video yesterday on this, so I'm going to glaze through this one quickly. There is another video on this. This style, also, again, one preset, all those capabilities so far: rain mode, party mode, multi-phase, 8 different colors, 8 different sounds, 8 different visual effects. And now this also has interactive blast, which is meant to be more like a video game interaction. So what interactive blast is it's a new effect capability in Proffie OS7. It does require my prop. It also requires a style code, and lastly, it requires a new sound in your font for the blaster firing. So typical blast effect, you press a button, you hear a deflection sound, and you get a visual effect on the blade for blast. Interactive blast supersedes that with a blaster sound effect only, and you have to react to that blaster sound effect within a fixed amount of time to deflect it. So if you don't react to the sound of the blaster, there's no visual effect, there's no blast deflection sound, nothing happens. And that can be like if you just dodged it, if you didn't react to it. I mean, even in the video game itself, you don't necessarily have to block every incoming blaster bolt. Some of them are off target. Some of them you're able to just sidestep. So that's the idea. Instead of just always having the press a button, blast effect, press a button, blast effect, press a button, blast effect. This is meant to be more of an interactive game type. Now at release, there's going to be a single fire, which means you press the button, it makes a blaster sound. You choose whether to react to it or not, or a continuous. Blaster fire, you react to it and deflect it, there'll be another shot after that. If it's blaster fire and you don't deflect it, it will stop firing. But I do have several other options coming in the future to phase 2. I just have to work out the timings and how it all interacts, but there'll be randomized ones. There'll be some that have additional effects in there. So like what happens if you don't deflect it, you could take a hit type of thing. That's all going to be done through style code, but I just have to get the style code finished up. But that will be coming in the future. So at release, you have the single or the continuous. This one's the continuous. For every deflection, I'll get a new blaster firing sound. And if I don't deflect, it'll stop. So I'll do a few in a row. You'll hear the blaster firing. That's a brand new sound. Then you have about a second to react to it to deflect it. So this time with interactive blast, when you press your aux button in 2-button control, it's the sound of the blaster firing. It's not doing the blast effect. You're triggering the blaster effect, the blast deflection essentially, by quickly moving your blade as if you were deflecting. And then if I stop deflecting, that ends. So continuous just goes as long as you keep deflecting. But there are other modes coming, because I know some people have already asked. There will be a random one where you don't know how many blasts are coming, and you can choose to deflect or not, but the random number of blasters will happen whether or not you deflect. And that'll give you a little more interaction. And then I've got a few that are kind of still early development. They'll actually have some effects if you don't deflect it, as if you were getting hit or whatever. I'm still working on those because the timings on those are very important. But so interactive blast, again, one preset. Now I've got party mode, I've got rain mode, I've got all my multi-phase, I've got interactive blast in here, and then I've got several other now options on my other 4 special abilities, and those happen while I'm off. And again, this is all controlled in the library. You pick what you want, so if you see some stuff you don't like, you don't have to use it. So I've set up special ability 5 to randomly play a quote, and then shortly after the quote, ignite. And it's all built in, so you can actually set how long of delay. You can specify quotes. If there's a specific quote you want, you can actually set that up in the style code so that it always calls it. Of course, your font has to support the quote. But so when I do special ability 5, and the other piece of this, you can have different ignition effects. Now on this blade, I've set up different ignition speeds for all my special abilities, just to give some differentiation. So the quote one, when it ignites, is going to be quicker than some of the other options, even the default one. But with special abilities 5 through 8 in my prop, you can set up your default ignition effect and then 4 additional ignition effects. Those ignition effects can have special, there's a power-up one, there's a couple power-up ones in here. You can have it play a sound like a quote, you can have it play a transition sound, you can have it play a track, which is in here also. There's a lot of new options that you can do just to give you even more diversity, even more control over what happens with your Saber. So the first special ability 5 will be a quote, randomly selected, and then it will ignite my blade shortly thereafter. I believe it's a second or a second and a half.
You'll find out soon.
So that was about a second, and then that was a quicker ignition. But I still use the wipe. You can do completely unique ignition effects on each of these special abilities too. That's all in the library. Alright, now special ability 6 is going to play the track. So it plays, it depends how you set your font up. It'll play the first track in your tracks folder, or it'll play your default track if you don't have a tracks folder. And that will be in the explanation as well. And it's going to just play the track one time. But it'll play the track in full, but I've set a delay. So it'll start the track, and you'll see why, and then it will ignite. And that's part of this special ability 6. And then we get our ignition, and the track will continue to play. Now you can turn the track off with normal controls, so for my prop, it's just point up and hold the power and release, and that'll turn the track off. We all know that song. But I set it so that the track starts playing, and then about almost 2 seconds after I tried to find the point where that initial kick is, that's when the ignition happens. Now those are fixed times that you would set, but you can now have a special ignition where you start music and then ignite. And the ignition on that was a little bit slower just for dramatic effect. And then special ability 7 8, I just did variations on my ignition in terms of speed and power-up effects. But you can do a lot more with them. But so special ability 7 will have one power-up effect, and I believe this one's a little quicker. Yeah, that was very quick with a very quick power-up effect. So that was that white flash. That's a power-up effect that you set. And then finishing off special ability 8 is going to be a different power-up effect, and I think this one takes a little longer. Oh no, I'm sorry, I skipped. This one randomly selects a phase and ignites. I knew I did something. So every time you do special ability 8, it's going to randomly choose a phase. So you're going to get kind of a unique launch. So that time it chose green, but I'll do special ability 8 again. And this time it launched in yellow. So this is random phase and ignite. I forgot I did that. And then it also has a power-up effect. So you can also do that. You can have it so your special ability 5 through 8 also chooses a specific phase. So say you have a couple phases you really like. You can set them to activate that specific phase with each of the special abilities. You can have it do random. You can have it do next phase or previous phase and then ignition. There's a lot of special ability options, and they're all in the library for you to choose and play with. But so this is just, again, a small sample. I actually have more stuff I have to shoot videos for, but I don't know that I'll have time before launch. But I wanted to put as much as I could. Again, one preset. This is one preset, and considering how much is in here, when you look at the memory usage because of how the library is putting this stuff together, this style is not much larger than your styles from OS6 was. Now that changes if you go crazy on a lot of additional multi-phase options. But this blade, as I've set it up with all those special abilities, with the rain mode, with the party mode, with the interactive blast, with the all 8 special abilities set, is not much larger than my old styles. So that gives you can do a lot. And because of the alt font, and because this is all of the video game sounds, effects, and colors in one preset, whereas in the past you would have made 8 presets to get the same thing, and that means you would have had to turn your Saber off, change the preset number, load it up. This is all active while the blade's on in real time with the interactive blast, with rain mode, with party mode capabilities, all in a brand new style that's in one preset. So OS7 is going to make so many new things possible. Phase 2 adds a lot more than Phase 1 did, but there's still even more to come. There will be multiple additional releases within Phase 2. As I said, I had a lot of stuff on the development table, but in order to get it launched, I had to finally just put kind of a pin in some things. I'll get them finished and I'll get them loaded. I'll make those announcements. But definitely check out Phase 2 once it launches. It is early access, so definitely check out my Patreon page if you're interested. This will eventually become public, but Phase 2 will probably be early access through the new year, just because of the time it took to develop and the time necessary for me to move to the next phase. But lots and lots of stuff. Again, all this you saw in this video is a tiny sample of what we're able to do. So I know you guys are going to love this stuff. I can't wait for it to release, so I hope you enjoy.